Let's talk about confidence. This is something that was actually requested just now in a live chat. Confidence is something that is obviously totally intangible, and yet we need it if we're going to play live, if we're going to put ourselves in situations where we're going to be exposing our creativity. It is a difficult thing to muster sometimes. But here are some tips, things that I've done. Because I now feel more confident on camera and on stage than I do away from camera and off stage. I've used a couple of neurolinguistic tricks in my own mind. The first thing is, what is your experience? Your experience of when you go to see a band. How do you feel watching the band? Are you judging? Are you wishing them ill? Or are you there just having a great time, looking forward to hearing some rocking music? Obviously, you're in the audience, excited to watch a show, because you only go to a show that you're interested in normally, unless you're dragged along by somebody else. But you're there excited to see a show, got a beer or a Coke or whatever, and just watching this thing, and you have good feelings towards the act. You're not judging them. And if they make a mistake, you don't really judge them on the mistake unless they look really embarrassed and really awkward and they get off stage. If they just kind of laugh it off, you don't think anything of it. It's just a thing that happened. You might not even have noticed the mistake. Using that third-person reality view on yourself when you get onto stage, you realise that the audience is there because they want to see you and they want to watch you perform and they want to hear the music. You can remove that cynical part of your brain that always says, oh, I'm going to make mistakes, they're going to laugh at me, I'm going to be embarrassed. Who cares? Make mistakes. Get on stage and make a mistake, see what happens. Nothing happens. No one cares. It is a non-event. It's also very useful to project forward into your future and imagine that you are on stage. Close your eyes, breathe, see an audience in front of you. Listen to that audience. Breathe in the atmosphere. Kind of in your mind, open your eyes and look at them and feel like you own that stage. And when you get to the venue, you load your gear in, put your guitar on the stand, get your amp ready. You're on the stage, there's no audience yet. Stand on the stage and look out to where the audience will be and just center yourself and feel at home, because it's your home now and you're going to own that stage, and you will feel so much better about yourself. When you get on the stage to perform, you've already been there facing the audience in your mind. You've put yourself into a place where you can approach it from a positive mental attitude. Developing your own voice, your own sound as a guitarist is absolutely critical for having your aural signature and your brand spread around the planet. Let's go deep into 3 key techniques that will give you that. 3 deep dive techniques to help you really find your own voice on the instrument, and they are bending, vibrato, and legato. With these 3 tools, they are the tools that help you express melody. After all, if you're just playing the notes of a scale without bending or vibrato, or in some cases bits of legato, you're just playing notes like on a piano. I'm not saying that piano cannot be expressive, but the guitar really is about emotive, melodic, vocal-like phrases that you get from bending and vibrato. Legato helps you to emit some of these things. So, for example, the bottom of position 5 in E. Well, that was all right, but... it's a whole lot more expressive when you're using the mechanisms of bending, vibrato, and legato. So let's take a look at the first culprit, which I often find in students needs a bit of a tweak. And this could maybe change all of your playing entirely, so I'm really excited for you. Let's look at bending. The first thing is, the mechanism, the physics behind a bend is often not what people think it is. For example, it is not pushing with the fingers. The fingers do not extend and contract to push a string up the fretboard. Let me give you some physical exercises to do. The first thing is, let's just have the thumb kind of chilling, like waving at you from on top of the fretboard like this. The next thing is, let's put the third finger on, I don't know, the B string, and we're going to go here at the 8th fret. And then put the second finger behind it. Now here's something that you don't normally get taught on YouTube or whatever tuition site. The palm of your hand, Matt, if you can get that part of my hand there, you see this? This needs to be away from the back of the neck of the guitar. It needs to be away because I need it to move. So if the palm of your hand, like this, the paddy flesh of your pinky is close to the guitar neck, you can't bend. You need to push it away like this. This is what I call an open position. So from here, the exercise is this. Lift the third and second finger above the string, but still in position, and turn your palm until it meets the back of the neck. So open position, closed. I can't go any further because my palm is now flat against the back of the neck. So fingers on, open position, close it, and look what happens to my finger. It travels from the bottom to the top of the fretboard. And all I've done is twist my forearm. Like opening a door handle. That is how you bend a string. You don't push, you don't pull. You shouldn't see the neck move. More often than not, when a student is working on bending and vibrato, what I see is this. I see the neck come up and they try and push. There's no pushing, it is a twist. And the thumb is really like when you're drawing a circle with a compass. It's an origin point. You can pull with the thumb slightly, but that's not what this is about. It's about twisting the forearm. A bigger muscle group gives you more control and it makes a smoother movement. So the next exercise is you just do the bend. So third finger, B string. Second finger behind it to support. Nobody really bends with one finger unless it's the first finger, which we'll get into. And from here, all I want you to do is bend up a semitone. So to measure the semitone, play the string. I just tapped the fret above to get a visual on it kind of vibe, although obviously it's not a visual, it kind of is. It's an aural. Notice that my first finger is lying on top of the other strings that I will bend into. It is serving to mute them. It is killing them. So the only thing you hear is this B string being bent. Everything else is muted. I'll do it again. Now let's make it a tone. So rather than a semitone, we'll go. What you don't want is to bend really fast. The reason is listeners want to hear the movement from one note to the other. They don't want to hear like that. You miss all of the story, the melody, the depth in that movement from one note to the next. It should be a smooth transition. You can do that kind of fast, but enjoy the bend of the note. So it's that movement, it's the closing and opening of the palm against the guitar. I can make it really extreme for you. It's like a right angle. Like that, you see? Like a right angle. And that will give you the strongest bend. You'll be pushing strings off the edge of the fretboard and beyond, and it's a joke how powerful that could be. So be warned. I've warned you, don't break strings. Taking it from a bend with the third finger to a bend with the first finger, what I would do for that is I use the inside of my first finger. And in a similar fashion to the previous exercise 1, put your finger on the G string, 5th fret, slightly on the inside of that finger, and then lift it off the string and open your hand and observe what happens to that first finger. It travels from here all the way down. All I've done is this. I'm turning my forearm again, but it travels from here to off the fretboard if I want to. If I just attach this first finger to a G string, that's how I would bend with the first finger. Now you can also push up using a similar mechanism. You can take it from here and push, a bit harder, but essentially I pull down with the first finger, I push up with my third or my second. You can also use a little finger, but it's a little teeny thing. Sometimes it's a bit impractical. A lot of great guitar players like Robin Ford and Slash, however, use the little finger to really good effect. And again, you would simply put another finger behind it to support it. Same action. Vibrato. Vibrato is not a vibration or a shake. A lot of guitar players tend to feel like it is something that they can just do by shaking either the guitar neck or their hand, like it is a nervous system twitch. Vibrato should be controlled, repetitive bending, preferably in rhythm to the music, although it doesn't have to be. You can go for really fast, open-handed Eric Clapton, B.B. King type vibrato, and it sounds brilliant. But they will always be using correct posture, and they'll be choosing the depth. So what you don't want to do is kind of mindless vibrato. So a lick, like a lick followed by just some vibrato. It should be measured. So is my vibrato a tone? Is it a semitone? Is it in rhythm? Is it slow? Or is it fast? The slower and wider, the more confident your vibrato will sound. Do you know what I mean by confidence in vibrato? That kind of deep sort of... slow, precise, deep vibrato is what will win the game. So it's controlled, repetitive bending. We can exercise with the first exercise I showed you. Fingers on, get ready with the open position. You just do semitone, and then you relax your hand and let the tension of the string pull you back to the natural fretted note. So for example, now on its own, isolated, slow like that, it sounds like nothing. But when you start to add a note, suddenly it's music. Do you see what I mean? It's slow, repetitive, controlled bending. If you want to add it on top of a bend, just nudge it past the point you bend to. So for example, from here, if I'm taking this G string note up a tone, from that tone up, I will push it a semitone or a tone above, but I have to choose. It shouldn't be an arbitrary, just random shake. It should be measured. So that's vibrato. Legato, smooth passages of silky running note type stuff, or even just in isolated incidents, a way of quickly, rapidly firing off notes that sound soft or staccato. It's another texture from picking. You know, picking sometimes can be really cool, but sometimes it's a little bit too aggressive. You don't always want a million mile an hour sort of... Sometimes you want something a little bit softer or a little bit more subtle, and legato will give you that. It's essentially hammer and pull, but there are a couple of tweaks and tricks that you can incorporate that will make your legato really smooth. The first thing is you really want your fingers to relax, and you really want them to move as little as possible. So the height that your finger gets to, it should be minimalized. You want to be aware of it. It shouldn't be a random movement where your fingers come up really high. Try to control the height, the altitude of your fingertips, and you'll find that it's a lot smoother. Now, there are all sorts of exercises for legato online that you can find, and they're all over the place, and a lot of them are brilliant. But what I will say is this: if you are pulling off from one finger to another, a common error is to just pull the string and in your head be thinking pull. Because what happens there is you often find as the player pulls this string, they pull with both fingers and you get a sharp note like this. I'm exaggerating it, but you can hear what I'm explaining to you. You get a sharpened note. If you pull with this finger, in your mind, imagine pushing with this finger. Now that might sound crazy, but it will give you an even and smooth pull-off. You can take any 3-note per string shape and run it up and down the fretboard as an exercise and just legato, and do it smoothly and try and keep it in rhythm. But really, it's that pull and keeping it in tune that will really help. Here's one exercise, however, for pulling and legato that will destroy your left hand. So you really want to take your time practicing this one. I'll show it to you slowly, and then I'll teach it to you afterwards. So here's what it looks like. So it's a 3-octave minor scale, but what I have done is every step of the way, bar the first note, I have hammered and pulled. So we'll start at the 5th fret on the E string. We're going to pick it, slide it along a tone, and now the hammer and pull fun begins. We're going to go 2nd finger, hammer down, pull off, and then hammer down again. Little finger now does the same thing. Now the 1st finger comes up to the A string, and I'm going to hammer down with a little finger on the previous note, which is the 10th fret E string, and then pick the A string note. So far you've got this. So when I'm changing string, going down, I will pick the note that I am changing to. But if I'm going up, I will hammer the note that I am going to. So it's a hammer, pick, hammer. 2nd finger comes down, little finger again. That's pretty hard. Going from little finger to 2nd finger is a unique and interesting feeling. Now I'm sliding my little finger, and again I'm going to hammer and pull from the little finger to my 2nd finger. It's a repetitive pattern, so you're going to see how it repeats here. 1st finger comes down, pick. So this is 10, 9, this is 11, 10, 9th fret to 12th fret. And then 2nd finger, little finger, and then again. So when you get up to this area of the scale, because of the shift in the tuning of the guitar strings, we're just going to be going, 1st finger comes up to the B string, pick it, hammer down with the 3rd finger, pick it, and then you're back into the pattern in this long 3-octave minor scale. So here it is really slowly for you to copy all of the frets, but you can apply this to any scale that you know. Just simply go up, come down, go up, move on. That's kind of what I'm doing. So here it is, really slow for you. It's a great exercise for getting left forearm burn. And when you can get it really fast, it's a really cool thing to do. Again, you can apply it to any scale shape you want, whether it's mixed lid, pentatonics, whatever you want. It's a tool to thrash out some legato type stuff. Bending, vibrato, legato. These things will really get you focused on being able to express melody. There's one more tool that I want to show you, and that is when you get a really great guitar and a great amp and you're playing loud, the problem often is not what you're playing, it's how not to play the things you don't want to play, because it will feed back and make sound and it will ring out and cause all sorts of problems. I use a system that allows me to mute all of the strings all of the time, apart from the ones that I want to keep isolated. I'm going to put more gain on my amp and show you exactly how I do that. I was obsessed with country players for a long time. People like Johnny Highland, Jerry Douglas. I love the technique involved in kind of country shred. And something I noticed is that the use of hybrid picking, these three fingers coupled with a plectrum, gave them incredible technique and ability at muting. As I am playing, I am only allowing space for one string to resonate. Now what I'm going to do, rather unusually, is ask Matthew, who's filming me, to film with one hand as he comes closer, and with the other hand, I'd like him to just randomly attack or strum my strings while I play, purely as a demonstration. Okay? So I'm just going to play guitar around here. You just strum these strings with any other hand you want. It doesn't make a difference what he does to the strings. You'll hear a percussive noise, but you won't hear a note ringing through. Here's what I'm doing. The underside of my left hand is muting the idle treble strings. My thumb and the tips of my left hand fingers are nudging and touching the idle bass strings. The palm is touching bass strings I don't want, and these fingers, crucially, are touching treble strings that I don't want to ring. Here's an exercise. You can rest your sperry finger and your ring finger on your E string and your B string. You can pick a G string note. I'm going for 5th fret G string. Once you've picked it, lift your pick up and place it underneath the D string, so that what you've got is a hole for one string, the G string only, so that my thumb is resting on the E, A and D. These two fingers are touching the B and the E, and the only string is my G string. Nothing else is allowed out. You can isolate and choose a string. This gives you, at volume with the right amount of gain, almost an EBow type effect with a really good valve amp. It'll ring and sustain. It's something that I used in the recording of Monkey Lord's Chromatic Aberration. Volume, preamp, gain, and isolating an individual string. The reason it's great is because if you let more than one string resonate, the frequencies will seek to cancel each other out. If you have one string resonating, it will go on forever, almost in some cases. It keeps you clean. It allows the guitar the voice it's supposed to have, and it lets you have all the sustain you've ever wanted. I hope that's a useful tip for you.